All right. Welcome, everyone, to the Recovery First podcast. I'm your host, Mike Todd. We are live here at Ascom Studios in Greenville, South Carolina, in beautiful Greenville, South Carolina. At least we're starting to get some relief from the heat, getting a little rain. Tonight's show is brought to you by the South Carolina Recovery Housing Association. They have gotten out a little over 1,000 units of naloxone kits to housing and recovery housing statewide in South Carolina, including, this is just a report at 13 overdose reversals. Tell you a little bit about Freedom Recovery Center and the Recovery First program. Is an initiative and community program in Greenville, South Carolina, supporting those who suffer from substance use disorder by providing access to treatment, recovery services, and permanent housing. All right, we've got some local events coming up, and I got to tell you, I'm extremely excited about this Friday. The second annual Jessica's Overdose Walk for Overdose will be on Friday, August 27th. We will meet at Pizza Bergamo. I think that's at 6 p.m. Todd's got it up there. 6:30 p.m. We'll meet at Pizza Bergamo. We will walk to Falls Park. I will be there with my bullhorn. Just do this. Just follow the bullhorn. We're going to make a lot of noise, but we're also going to honor those that we've lost and support these families here in Greenville, South Carolina. Last year, we had a little over 100 people, and I want to give a very, very heartfelt thank you to the Step family for really stepping up and organizing this event. Thank you so much, guys. FAVOR Grand Strand. They're going to have a memorial and a vigil August 31st at 6:30 p.m. in beautiful Conway, South Carolina at Collins Park. We'll start talking a little bit more about that as we start to roll into it. The Catawba Nation, I hate this. I talked to Erica Parsley. She's the peer support with the Catawba Nation. The Catawba River Ramble has been canceled, unfortunately, due to COVID. The Catawba tribe just decided it would be safe not to at this time not to have that event. I will tell you this: you can still contact us or contact Erica. You can still sponsor this event because the sponsorship money that was going to this is going towards trying to open up some housing to help those with substance use disorder. So if you want any information on how you can support the Catawbas, please get in touch with us. The Jesse May Harm Reduction Bus will be in the old Save More parking lot off Wade Hampton Boulevard. That's in the Motel 6 area from 5 to 7 on Friday. They will be giving out naloxone, clean syringes, and spreading love, dignity, and the message of recovery all throughout the community. I also like to tell you, tonight, on Thursday nights, they are at New Life Church in Berea. That's kind of on the White Horse Road area. They're there from 7 to 9. Again, if you need some more information on that, just send us an email. I'll call you and we'll get you there. Here's a good one that's coming up. The Upstate Recovery Coalition will be hosting a recovery festival. This is the Phoenix Center, our good friends out there. Recovery Festival and concert. This is going to be at the Charles E. Shipman Center in Greenville, Sunday, September 26th. It's going to be 4 to 7, actually, Todd. They changed that a little bit. That was brought up last night. I apologize, but it will be 4 to 7. It's going to be on 975 Foothills Road. So I'm here tonight with my good friend Tina Harris. She is the outreach coordinator for Faces and Voices of Recovery in Greenville. I told you I would help you with this. So I have a disclaimer. I was supposed to send Tina some questions, and I did not. So when wrong, promptly admit it. But listen, I think she can handle it. I do. How you doing, Tina?
I'm doing pretty good tonight, Mike. How are you?
You're not too mad at me, are you?
No, not at all.
You never are. But no, and we've been good friends for a while. But Lana, here's your first question. Are you ready for this? So, Tina, everyone has asked me to ask you this, including my wife. What do you do to stay looking so young?
I tell you what, Mike, my birthday is Saturday and I'll be 63. I'm real proud of that. I don't carry around stress. I turn it over every day. And the God that I serve, his shoulders are so much bigger than mine that I get peace in doing that. And basically, that's what I do.
You know what? You don't look stressed out a lot. You know, when I see you, when I'm at Favor and stuff. And now, but I mean, one day I didn't know this, and we were like giving out naloxone. I was like, how? And you told me, and I was like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. So there's Renee. Renee Todd said,
thank you, Renee.
Said something beautiful. Is it your birthday? Renee said, beautiful, happy birthday or something like. It's not your birthday.
Saturday.
Oh, okay, so Saturday's your birthday. I was good. So listen, good to have you. I don't think I've ever talked to you about this. Tell me a little bit about growing up and where you grew up.
I grew up in Southern California.
I did not know that.
Middle class. And my substance use started when I was 14. And it started with the gateway drug, marijuana. And I tell you one thing, it wasn't as potent as it is now.
It wasn't.
No, sir.
Probably back in the 80s, right?
Uh-huh. No, actually, how about the 60s?
Wow. I was born in 65, Tina. Okay, and that's what I was going to, that's one of the other questions. Can you tell us a little bit about the moment where you said, look, I got to do something different? Was there like something that got you in recovery? I mean, what was that moment for you?
It was, 30 plus years in to substance use disorder, Mike. I found myself in an abusive relationship, caught up in crack.
Oof.
And choosing crack over everything, even over my kids, Mike. Yeah. And so in that abusive relationship, one day I woke up and I was tired. I was very tired. And
so we had, you know what? No, I was going to tell you, Tina, we had the same, and I know we don't want to like focus in on like substances, but we had the same, we were 70s and 80s. I mean, crack cocaine was very, very, it brought a lot. Sometimes I say I'm grateful for crack cocaine because it really brought me to my knees. You know, I would say crack cocaine brought me to recovery because it took everything from me, just like what you're talking about.
And pretty much, Mike, and I can honestly say that I have done everything down to a needle in my arm, but it was crack cocaine that I gave up all of that, those other things for. And crack was my baby.
It's a miserable drug. I'm so grateful that we have found freedom from that because a lot of people didn't, man. A lot of people that was an epidemic, back in the 80s. It was a huge epidemic. It really, really affected the minority neighborhoods, but people, even white guys like me that went into the minority neighborhoods to get, but it really, really, people don't really understand how devastating it was. And we had no help. We had no help, and we were labeled, I don't even like to say this word. But we were labeled crack. You know what I'm going to say. I don't even like to say. Crack H, what crack? We
go ahead and say it, Mike.
We were just crackheads.
crackhead.
And,
But
yeah.
in my sick mind at that time, it was like, well, no, I'm not a crackhead. That comparison that we can do sometimes. No, I'm not a crackhead because I'm not doing this. I don't go out and do that like that person and
Yeah.
all of that other stuff. And I'm a functional addict. And it kept me sick for a long time.
But talking about that label, I realized, you know who helped me with this, and my wife helped me with this with labels, because I would joke around for many years in recovery and refer to myself as that. And I can tell you, I do not do that anymore. And that's why I struggled to say that word, but I had to emphasize that we were just labeled this. We were just labeled this. There was no coming back for us. And we are here to tell you that, yes, we do recover. And, and it's two people that, we came through the same era, I guess. And it's just, I don't know, man, just sitting here and realizing that, we're getting a little older, but man, we got better, didn't we? One day at a time.
We do.
And real quick, and what is your pathway to recovery? Are there like different things that you've done through the years? Is there a couple of solid things that you do to sustain your recovery? What does Tina Harris's recovery kind of look like? And if, I know you've kind of done some different things, but can you tell me a little bit about that?
Right, Mike, you're right about that. The way I label it is that I have a recovery cake. And recovery cake is made up of a lot of different ingredients because I started out in church.
Mm-hmm.
One of my friends made NA attractive to me, and I got involved in NA. I've been to AA, FAVOR meetings.
Yeah.
And just getting out, helping people. That's my recovery right there. And for the most part, me being director of community outreach at FAVOR Greenville is really something that keeps me grounded because that's a part of my recovery process.
And I can tell that's one of the reasons I love to be around you, because it's like I can tell that like it's not a job for you. It's just something that you do. And you just,
I have a passion. Passion for it.
We got your passion and a purpose, and that's what recovery gives us, is a passion and a purpose and a reason to live. And I mean, it's so yeah. I mean, and the next question. Now you get these questions, but tell me, were there like we talked a little bit about barriers in the crack cocaine epidemic, but what were some of the barriers in recovery that maybe you experienced as a minority woman? Were there a lot of barriers that you experienced, or I mean, yeah.
When I look at like barriers, I think, the barriers that I experienced were like the type of meetings that I was going to.
Okay.
The Narcotics Anonymous meetings, maybe in this area of Greenville. Okay. I realized one day that those meetings were not feeding me in a way that I need to be fed. So because I'm responsible for my own recovery, I feel like that I have to do what is working for me.
Yeah.
What's feeding my inner peace. And if I don't have the peace that I'm seeking that keeps me well balanced, then I'm seeking it somewhere else. And so I've jumped like from meeting to meeting as far as a home group, so that whatever's going on in my life, I center what feeds my recovery around that. And church is at the top of that.
Yes, but you know what? And it's like it's funny that I mentioned barriers as a minority woman, but you just went into I don't want to say you didn't answer but like you just went in to just straight up, like, if I find a barrier that's something that's not working for me, I just try something else. So it's like you didn't even, you're like, I just kind of like knocked the barrier down is just the way you just answered that. And that's pretty cool.
Well, maybe, Mike, because like in my mind as a minority woman,
yeah,
we're dealing with race. And so when I look at that perspective of it, and sometimes there was some barriers within my own race that, kind of kept me from staying at one meeting and feeling better over at another meeting.
Gotcha. No, I got you. Now this is and I got to ask you, how are things at FAVOR Greenville? I gotta mention this because I love him. I don't get where is he's out building a rocket or something, but I know Rich Jones left. He's had a I don't know, he's had an impact on both of us, really. Mm-hmm. I know he's been a big part of our lives, but how you doing with that? How's everything going at FAVOR? Listen, I know that FAVOR's going to be just fine without Rich Jones, but can you kind of talk about that for just a minute? Like Rich, what impact he had on you, or Rich
was someone that I did an internship at FAVOR, right? But I wouldn't even thought about it had Rich Jones not come out of his office. I just dipped my head in FAVOR to see, just kind of see what the landscape looked like. And I was talking to the front desk lady, and all of a sudden he comes out of his office like, "Oh, you go to Greenville Tech? You want to do your internship here?" I was like, wow, how awesome is that? How down to earth is that head person? And I was just like, all in. I bought into it. I did my internship, got to know Rich, and Rich, he encouraged me and he taught. And so like, I've grown to love him as a friend and a mentor and wish him all the best.
Yeah.
And then the interim person, Mike Malone, that's in his shoes right now. He's doing an awesome job. And everybody brings their own innovative ideas and process with them. And I'm like, okay, I'm ready to see where Mike's going to take us. And Mike and I have a good relationship, and he's doing an awesome job.
We got to have him on the show. We really do. And I know two very different personalities there, and that's fine. But what I realized when you talked to me about that is Rich was extremely he spotted talent, and he's very encouraging, and he really opened I remember us having these conversations years ago about MAT in his office, and how I was about, because I was an old NA goat, right? Old 12-step goat. I didn't understand this stuff, and it's amazing that now Freedom Recovery Center works with medically assisted treatment, and a lot of that is because of opening our eyes, like it was Rich Jones and Mark Burrows and Nate Tate and people like yourself that came around, because I think you probably struggled with it and didn't understand it too. Mm-hmm. But it's just got to the point where he just made sense to me, like nobody should be left behind, right?
Exactly.
We talked about those minority barriers, like recovery is we bring everyone, right? I mean, and I talk about that. One of the things that I've learned in advocacy is if we are not bringing everyone along, it's not advocacy. It becomes some kind of like special interest kind of bull crap, right? Yeah. Seriously, it's about bringing everyone. So can you tell us a little bit, what are some of the things you do at FAVOR Greenville, like on a daily basis? What does an outreach person do? I know a lot.
It is a lot, but I love every minute of it. Some days I'm burnt out, and but for the most part, it just feeds my spirit. And because of FAVOR's approach, we think out the box. We, embrace all pathways to recovery. Yeah. So that means I meet you where you're at.
Right.
I meet you right where you're at, whatever you're doing, and that sometimes it's about. You still might be doing what you're trying to stop. But if I meet you right there, no judgment,
Mm-hmm.
and try to guide you into recovery, that's a good place to start. So I'm out and meeting people where they are, is out on the street,
Yeah.
their tent encampment,
Yep.
when you're trying to get some food at a food bank, or
Hotel,
even get a meal at the soup kitchen. We'll meet you where you are. And today you may not stop and talk to me because I got a table set up, or I have something there that lets you know that I'm about recovery. You may not stop today, but I tell you what, consistency and showing up, it builds trust. And when that person is ready, they'll come up, because I've been consistent and I've been faithful in showing up.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to talk to you today, or
Mhm.
can I have your card? Because I do need some help. And we have a conversation.
Because you know what, Tina, a lot of times you're engaging people that have not, that's what people don't, they kind of have a misunderstanding with harm. That harm reduction is about a lot more than just getting naloxone out and fresh syringes and fentanyl strips. It really is about meeting people where they're at. And that's why when they meet people like yourself, they're 5 times more likely to seek treatment. You you actually open up that communication, and you're so darn good at it. I got to tell the story one time because we were giving out naloxone, and I think I had T-shirts or something, and and Tina said, "We need to get some draws," and I said, "Draws?" She said, "Yeah." She said, "Man, a fresh pair of drawers when I was out there." And I thought to myself, and I've thought about that. We do need to maybe get some underwear and drawers, as you call them. And but giving them naloxone or a clean T-shirt or a couple of cans of food or whatever it may be, and letting them know that no matter, just because they're a drug user doesn't mean that they should die, right?
That's right, Mike.
You and I, we talk about spiritual stuff. That's a big lot of what Jesus did, right? I mean, he just went out and met people exactly where they were, wow. and I think that's why I'm becoming more and more. As the years are going through, I know housing is my heart, but that's become a big part of my heart, because I realized years ago that a guy met me with harm reduction before, because I was getting back in my car and was planning on killing myself. And he just said, "Hey, where are you going?" That's the heart. There's an action, but there's a heart to what you do in outreach and harm reduction. And I just think you do. But real quick, what are some of the other services that FAVOR Greenville does out there, just for people that are just kind of that don't know a lot about FAVOR Greenville? Because what we do, obviously we're taping this thing and we're getting it out, and maybe somebody will see this. Okay. Family services, I know they do that.
I'm a individual coach. I'm a family recovery coach. And so we provide, on a family level, we provide family support services, family coaching. We have family support is huge, because yes. we know that it is an integral part of a person's recovery. If the family support is there, they got a good chance of coming on into recovery as the family gets into recovery as well. But individuals can come and because we embrace all pathways to recovery, they can come and get a plethora of different meetings available to them that we offer on our calendar. But one of the other things that FAVOR does is we're hope pushers.
Yes.
We bring out
you guys are, man.
We bring out to the community hope for families, hope for solutions, and hope for recovery, Mike.
Yeah. Y'all do. I mean, it's if you've never been to FAVOR Greenville, I mean, and you don't know how to get there, contact us, man. Contact me or Todd. I'll get you. I mean, just go out there and just ask to kind of hang out. I mean, they've got these all recovery meetings. So, and this was something that Rich taught me, that everybody is not necessarily going to come into to 12-step recovery, right? I mean, maybe it's intimidating, or they're just not ready for it, or it's just not, or whatever it may look like. But you can come out like FAVOR Greenville has an all recovery meeting at noon, and there's all kinds of different walks of life and different people, and you can ask. You can even go in there, like you can't go in a 12-step meeting and ask a question. Maybe you can, but you can go in there and ask questions and actually get feedback in the meeting. It's just kind of different. It's just kind of really laid back. It's kind of like just kind of figuring out where you want your recovery to go. And Mike Malone leads a lot of. I was on the like they have kickball, and there's just it's just really, really a neat place. And I'm very, very grateful that you guys are over there, Tina. I really am. And shout out to Mr. Mike Malone for picking up the torch. I know Rich is a different personality. We get that, but man, we support him 110%. And I think the future for FAVOR Greenville, for Faces and Voices of Recovery. Let me tell you about them as an RCO. As far as the recovery community organization, they're really one of the strongest recovery community organizations in the country. I don't think people realize that. Did you realize that, Tina?
No, sir. No, sir. I knew we were pushing it, pushing the envelope and getting out there and doing things, but I didn't know that.
No, yeah. I mean, it really is. I mean, if you really take a look at recovery community organizations, it is one of the better recovery community organizations as far as well organized and well run, and they've got a nice building out there off of Woodruff Road. But and just kind of changing gears a little bit, because you were talking to me before we came on, and we were talking about housing.
Right.
And hold on a second. So, and we're going to get into, maybe you were talking, I don't know if you're ready to talk about this, but you got like a little project possibly around the corner. But I know you were in recovery housing. Tina, really, what are some of the things that I think this is one of the coolest questions I came up with. But like, what are some of the things we can do to support recovery housing operators? It seems they are such an undervalued, overlooked, and grossly underfunded resource in our state. I'm going to say this as a housing operator. I think that we take the fiery darts, right? Like I understand, like there's some not so good operators. It seems like we're all lumped into one pot, eat the good or whatever. But what can we do? Like, I think that recovery housing operators have really had a lack of support. What are some of the things, and you and I have worked on some of this stuff, and we've got some projects going on. I'm really proud of that. But what do you think some of the things are that we can do to actually elevate and help recovery housing operators?
That's a good question, Mike, and I'm glad you asked me. As an recovery housing operator, one of the biggest things is funding.
Yeah.
Recovery housing, they're underserved and they are marginalized in a big way. So when we're talking about bringing recovery housing up to a standard, guess what? Most low-level recovery housing operators are just barely making it, but they get the runoff from those other organizations that they can't get into because they don't have the money. So at that low level, people are accepting people to come in. Sometimes they accept them without a deposit, but they get them in, they get them a job. And a lot of times those people leave before they're all caught up on their service fees. And let's not get it twisted. They are service fees because it is not a landlord-tenant agreement. Right. Like some people
it is called program fees. And they come in, and that's the thing, they come in with the clothes on their back. And so I think a lot of people, we talk about exploitation in recovery housing, but I think a lot of people get in with the right intention And then it's like, man, I'm working 70 hours a week. I'm not making any money. The people out here on the outside think I'm a terrible person because I have a recovery house or what. I mean, it's somehow, and I think really some of the things that we have been doing. I think one of the cool things that we've been doing is getting naloxone out to them, because they're kind of like, we know that people are dying in these. I think that's when we talk about standards. I mean, before we talk about how close the beds are, and before we talk about what the yard looks like, and before we talk about all this other stuff, the first thing we have to talk about is that it's just like everywhere else, people are dying in these places. And so we have this getting the naloxone out. And as we get the naloxone out, we can start to talk to them and meet them where they are too, because they're tired, they're undervalued, they're underfunded, they're all of that. They feel neglected, and I don't feel like anybody sits down with them and says thank you, and what are your challenges, and what do you need, and how we can support you. It's just like, and that's the other question I was saying. I know we've got a certifications process, and I believe that. I believe in a certifications process. We've got a bill in the state house that, but will it help indigent individuals who are seeking recovery housing? I mean, if we have this mandate, and if we have this all this certification stuff without the other training and support, like, it's hard if you're in a van all day. How do you get trained as a peer support specialist? Is there some way that we can maybe bring that in virtually so that they can do their peer support stuff in segments? I mean, it just seems like there's not enough like sitting down with us and valuing us for what we are. Did you kind of feel that way, Tina?
Right, Mike, because I was going to ask you, could I interject something?
Please.
As with the recovery housing, because FAVOR does do a lot of resources. We have a resource list of our own. But, I think that when we talk about certification for the underserved and marginalized recovery houses, it's scary.
Yes, it is.
To the point of, I'm not going to be able to make the grade. I don't have money to pay for liability insurance. I don't have this. I don't have that. But my thought process is just this. When I had recovery houses, I knocked on doors. I went to local government. But I do believe, if there is a bill at the state level, that it is an obligation of the state to come alongside of these lower level recovery houses and provide some funding so that they can get up to standard and that they can continue to serve those people that nobody else wants to serve.
Say it.
And serve them in an effective way, that recovery becomes a most important thing and saving lives, instead of people jumping from house to house to house to house. And then we got a bill that comes through. I read the bill, and the only thing that stood out really to me that wasn't scary was that it was not mandatory. But I believe that at some point there is going to be some type of mandate, and some recovery houses are going to get either closed or they're going to get left behind. And it's not fair to those people, those recovery houses that take anybody because they want to help them. It's not fair for them to get left behind.
Tina, it's very easy. And I listen, there's something for everyone. Okay. People drive Mercedes, and, like I've got a Nissan out here with 120,000 miles. It gets, you know what I mean? It gets it done. Right. But the point I'm trying to make is it's real easy for me to get certified when I own a treatment center and I have a sober living connected with this big, beautiful house because I can afford to. And the folks that come through my treatment center can go to my sober living And I have a little bit of an issue with that too, because if they have a reoccurrence, guess what? They get to come back through and run mine. Come on, let's talk about it. But I'm talking about, like, for me, even it's intimidating for me, because I don't know if you've ever been to our place or not. I think you've probably walked through there, but
yeah,
I think it's really, we have a very, very well-run program. We deal with indigent folks, okay? They come in, they have nothing. We help them get back and forth to treatment and do things like that. But we have an older building, right? And we keep it clean and everything. But this whole, and the past year with COVID and everything, I mean, it has been extremely hard just keeping the doors open, because, like I said, I ain't taking people with a bunch of insurance or that have the resources. So it is very easy, as a person who has a nice recovery house connected to a treatment center, who is dealing with people with resources. So here's my concern as a recovery housing operator, and you and I have talked about this. So you bring a certifications process in, and those people are not going to have a problem getting certified, okay? It is going to be the people like, and I'll go ahead and say it, people like Linda Valentine, who has a little house, and just like, if somebody's homeless at the meeting, Linda's taking them to her house, man, right? I mean, with the clothes on their back, or they're coming from detox with the clothes on their back. How can we support her? Because here's the problem with the certifications process, in my opinion, and I've been doing this for 10 years. The problem is the person with the resources, that has the insurance, that has the parents that can pay for them to go to treatment, will get to go to a NAR certified, or South Carolina Alliance for Recovery Residences certified recovery residents. And the person that is marginalized, like you and I were, and that work with the people that you and I work with, continue to go to the same places, right? And you know what I'm talking about. They get as Rich used to say, they continue to get a ride to the chicken farm. Okay. And let's just be real about this. And if you don't like what I'm saying, I don't really care. I mean, but the point is how do we work with these people that are really in the trenches, and they're dealing with the indigent folks, right? And I think that and that's what I was going to say. I think we start by meeting them where they're at and saying, it's okay for you to have naloxone in your recovery house. Don't feel bad about that, man. So, and I know you kind of feel the same way. And one of the things I think is that I really appreciate about you is that you actually go, and we can talk a little bit about this. So you actually go to some of these smaller houses and just kind of encourage them. Am I right about that? Can you tell me a little bit about when you go to a smaller operator that is taking in these indigent people, and you just tell them, we appreciate you, and hey, we're trying to get some money to send with these folks. How does that, I mean, what kind of response do you get? Like, thank you. I mean, I know
it's a welcoming response, Mike, because housing operators are out there looking for funding, but they're doing the best they can with the people that they have come in. And then they have to, it's like returning to use. That can spread like a cancer in a recovery house. But people still get put out, even though I'm not gonna have the money to meet what I need to pay. But the recovery housing operators, they're looking forward, and they're, opening their mind to the fact that I might need to come alongside an MAT. I may need to make some changes so that I can get the help that I need. But these changes won't break me. So if we can start talking to people, making sure that they do have naloxone or Narcan in their houses. As a matter of fact, one of the smaller houses that I go to, and I encourage guys, and I left Narcan there.
Yeah. Because
they had to use it to save somebody.
But Tina, in order for obviously one of the things for them to get certified is they have to have, and I was actually in a meeting with some of these folks the other day, and one guy said, and I said, well, some of these people can't afford the insurance. Well, what I would tell them is that you got to tell them that they can't afford or whatever the insurance. I'm like, no, you don't quite. I don't think you quite understand, man. They're working on a shoestring budget. They're working with people that are not insured, that don't have resources, that come in with the clothes on their back. I mean, and then you're saying, well, you got to get this insurance. And I'm going to tell you, the insurance premiums are really it's precarious right now. So, I mean, it's just to have it. And here's another thing in that bill. It says, one, they have to work with MAT, which I get it. But also, in order for them to get referrals from the judicial system or the state system, they have to be certified, which means that they have to have the insurance. They have to go through the certifications process, which for someone like them is very costly. They have to have commercial insurance on their vans or whatever. Some of these, hey, I'm going to tell you something. For my first 3 years, my wife is going to kick my butt for saying this, but I drove guys around on me and my wife's insurance because I couldn't afford the commercial insurance. Yeah. So like I said, we don't have this just plethora of resources and people coming to us and paying us $4,000 a month for Johnny to stay with us. And so I really think that if we're not careful, and I don't mind saying this to anybody at State House, I think if we're not careful, we are looking at possibly even increasing the gap. There's a possibility, and you and I have talked about that. So, but yeah, I appreciate what you're doing and appreciate you helping to get the naloxone out also to recovery housing and encouraging. I know you encourage me. Because I'm tired. I've been doing this for 10 years, and you're hearing me ranting and raving and everything else. Like, yeah, we want to be certified. We want to keep everything up. But like you said, and I even told somebody from the state, you need to be behind us with a checkbook, right? Yeah. I mean, it's just been good. Todd, you got anything for Tina? Because I know I kind of ranted and raved because we were talking about recovery housing.
Well, no, I did want to ask that one part of that. Has it been, with getting the naloxone out to the recovery housing, I know that you and Mike have worked together on getting the indigent packages together and all that. Has that been rewarding? And can you give some examples of just what you've seen from that as far as, that really encourages you?
Well, hold on a sec, just real quick. And I'm glad you brought up the indigent packages because Tina, I don't know if I talked. It's like we're talking on the phone here, but one of the things that we talked about the next project with the South Carolina Recovery Housing Association, and I know it's just kind of a loose kind of association. It's okay, right? We just find needs and we do it. We've raised a little bit of money, but raising some more money and having these indigent packages like the socks and like when they come with the clothes on their back, like they don't have deodorant, they don't have toothpaste. A lot of times that's another added burden on a recovery housing operator that works with these indigent people. So one of the things I talked about, and I'm glad Todd brought that up, was going and getting these indigent packages, and then inside of these indigent packages, getting them numbers for, for peer support specialist or whatever. I would love to figure out like to work with you on that. We could do it through FAVOR. Todd and I talked about it. I think I called you and I said, I got to talk to you about something. So I never talked to you about this, did I?
No. But, that's a good idea, Mike, because right now, FAVOR puts together packages.
Okay.
To give out in the community, but they don't include socks, but They do include the life-saving information and the life-saving material to reverse an overdose. We have packets that we put together and pass out weekly. And every week we get back.
If you don't mind,
there were 4
Yeah.
reversals, 9 reversals.
Yes, you got. I mean, but so what if let's get together and figure out like what like if there needs to be some kind of female hygiene items and so forth. Maybe have the female stuff. Give that out to like Linda Valentine's house and Harmony House and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Just to kind of bless them and let them know that they're loved. And because, man, I mean, when they come in and they got nothing, absolutely nothing. And I mean, talking about being behind the 8 ball, and we got to figure out ways to get them jobs. And then, and maybe they just got out of detox. You need to give them 2 or 3 weeks just to be able to start putting their one foot in front of the other. I mean, these are the people that need the support. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to continue to speak out for them. And that's one thing I love about you is you feel the same way. When we get together, man, it's like, yeah, man, these people that are working recovery housing, indigent people are overlooked and screwed over. They really are. I don't mind saying it. And what's our thanks? Our thanks is a big list of things that we need to be doing. Come on, man. You want us to do that stuff. Well, that's fantastic. How about a little funding and a little bit of help? I tell you what would help me out tremendously at Freedom Recovery Center right now, Tina, if I could have like a peer support specialist that could come in and maybe do a little driving for me and some meetings, and stuff like that. That would make if I could have one peer support specialist at Freedom Recovery Center that was funded and paid for, that would make a world of difference for me. Somebody that could go out and pick them up at Phoenix Center, maybe come back and then that night have a meeting or all recovery meeting. I can't tell you what that would do because here's the thing. I can't afford to pay help, right? That's the thing. We end up burning the candle at both ends. And what I have seen, including yourself, I have seen so many good people that do this that just get completely burnt out and like, I can't do it anymore. I got to go out and get a job. And it's absolutely a shame. It really is.
Well, and I think the other interesting part to bring in there is like whenever you make the comment, like, I have to go out and get a job. It's not that you're doing this to get rich.
Right.
So, and I think that's the thing that needs to really be the deciding factor there so that people know that. I guess a lot of people automatically assume that because you have a recovery residence, because you run an RCO, that you're loaded, and it's not even the case. And so I think that that's the part. Like whenever you're fighting for state funding when it comes in grants, or when you're fighting for whether it's like homegrown little little fundraisers that you're doing either through Amazon or stuff like that. I mean, we're fighting for crumbs here, and you're working your tail off at both ends. Like Tina, how have you seen that? Because you used to have with the recovery housing. I mean, how have you seen as far as like homegrown support? Like, is it like beating a drum, just to try to get your voice heard?
It is. And I remember at one time went to the local government, the redevelopment commission, and they wanted to give us some money, but we had to make changes in our program in order to get the little amount of money that was going to leave us with. They would give us this money monthly, and then the rest that it didn't cover, we would have to take it out of our pockets. And that wasn't good. So we still had to fight to make the bills and all of that. And it is the same process and the same fight for the recovery housing owners now that are on a lower level. They're marginalized, and to the point, like, how do we make it?
You both just said the word fight. So okay, so we've got all this that we've got to do. We've got to get them jobs. They come in with the clothes on their back. We got to, we've got very little help. We're overworked, underpaid, and everything else. And it's just, and then it's like, okay, and now you got all this. It's just, it's really a shame that we're at this point. I mean, it really is. But I think, and I mean, I can speak. I don't know if I could speak to the state or whatever. I would say, why don't we find these operators that are doing this? Okay, I get it, the certifications, and I got a treatment center, and I got a sober living house. And listen, there's a place for that. Fantastic. But you're not worried about funding, right? I'm talking about the people that really wanted to do this and get better. Why can't we put them in a room? Deotis has a big conference room. Why can't we start inviting these people and start opening up the dialogue? And instead of having people coming after us with torches and pitchforks and judging us, because we're scraping and we're trying to figure out a way to do this, why don't we start engaging with these folks and saying, and instead of with judgment, how can we help you get better? Nobody's doing that. Nobody's just coming to us and saying, look, man, no, you tired, you overworked. I mean, how can we help you get better? And I think that's where, and Tina, I know we kind of feel like Lone Rangers in this, don't we? I mean, we really do. And I want to tell you that I love you and I appreciate that with you, because when I get with you, it's like we see that, because what it was like getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning and driving everybody to work. And then you got to pick them up, and then you got to get them to a meeting. And you don't have a paid treatment staff at your sober living facility, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, and if I'm pissing some people off, so be it. I don't care. I'm speaking the truth. There's people like myself, and I want to say this real quick, Tina. I know you're talking about possibly maybe another housing project. I want to tell you that I support you 100%. If there's anything in the world I can do to help you, that's me. Yeah. Raise money, whatever it looks like. Renee loves to decorate houses. I love to, if you need help with policies and, because I've been through everything in the world. Mm-hmm. I mean, are you open? I know we're wrapping up, but can you tell us a little bit about maybe that, or do you want to kind of leave that for maybe next time?
It just my church has been walking towards opening a women's house. Yeah. Along with some other things that we got in the works. And it's we're almost there. And as soon as it's open, ready for opening, and we are doing a ribbon cutting ceremony, I'm definitely going to have you talk about it, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, I love that. That's one of the things I love to do. Whether you love me or hate me, I love to. I mean, I don't like sitting at the table and getting permission and having committees on top of the committees and committees to talk about. I don't care about all that stuff. What I see is that there are a lot of indigent people out here that don't have a pot to pee in or window to throw it out of, and they have nowhere to go, and nobody is supporting the people that are trying to help them. That's the bottom line, okay? I'm not talking about these, again, it's different than these upper end. So I need to get a plaque with a NAR certification or whatever on my door so I can look good for a parent or an insurance company. That's not what we're talking about. We are talking about the people out here that are living in tents, that are living on the streets, that are down to nothing, and they need access. We have treatment. We have services at the Phoenix Center. We have services at Favor, but they don't have a way to get there, folks. It might as well be on Mars. They don't have a way to get there. And the people, they don't have a place to live. And the people that are trying to help them are not being supported. State of South Carolina, listen to me. They are not being supported. They are not being supported at all. So we've got a platform here, and as you can see, we may be starting to get a little bit loud, but what does the future... Tina's looking at me like, oh, Lord, Mike. Tina, what does the future hold for Tina Harris? I mean, you're talking a little bit about maybe doing some housing. I just heard about this when you came on. That got me kind of excited. But what's the future hold for Miss Tina?
Well, right now, working at Favor, I feel like I have another 7 years here. Mm-hmm. Another 7 years in going out and meeting people where they are.
Okay.
And at that point, I don't know, because I really feel like in this recovery process, I have to continue to help people. I have to continue to try to bring about healthier individuals, healthier families, so we can have a healthier community.
And support and help these people that are out here. I mean, there's people like, and I'll say it, like there's people like Linda Valentine who opened up a house with her own money. Her and her husband, they opened up this place with their own money and their own resources. They haven't gotten a dime, and there's no telling how many people have come through there, how many ladies that have come through there and have gotten a new life. And she's not had one dime. She's not had any support whatsoever. And she's a wonderful minority lady. You're talking like Cassandra Brayberry, who has 5 houses, who has never got a dime of state money. There's no telling how many people have been blessed. When Tina Harris had a house and had a couple of houses, she had people coming through there. Did you ever get a dime? Did anybody from the state ever call you and say, "Hey, Tina, how can we help you? Can we meet with you?" I don't think they did.
Sir.
Freedom Recovery Center. I can tell you at this point, we've had almost 7, Heath Hood and I sat down, since 2011, we've had 700 men, over 700 men come through that program. And a lot of it is due to like my wife and I putting up our own money and our own time and, driving these old cars and everything else. I'm not poor mouthing. I'm just saying, you know what, man, it's maybe I need to break out the bullhorn. What do you think, Tina?
The way that you get help is just talk loud. When you're out there talking loud by yourself and somebody else comes along and speaks loudly with you, it does bring attention. Yeah. And maybe we will get somebody to notice that these recovery house owners need help.
And I've even talked, Tina, I've even talked to like Rick McCain, and I hope he doesn't mind me saying this, it has Turning Points. And, he has a motel out there, and he's even like, yeah, I mean, we all want to do better, but it's like, how do we do better when we're practically, a lot of us are just treading water and trying to get it done. So I appreciate you you're one of the few voices. And another thing I want to tell you before you leave, we're running out of time, but I do want to tell you that we're looking forward to really building this 800 line so that when people are in a bad way out there, they are being abused or exploited or neglected, because yes, there is some of that going on, that we can meet them where they are, that we can get them somewhere else. There's just so much going on, but housing has been neglected for so long that it's, and you can hear my frustration as a recovery, and you can. Next month we might just have recovery. What do you think, Todd? Maybe we'll have recovery housing month. This past month has kind of been harm reduction in the South or whatever, but
well, it definitely gets you fired up. And so that definitely creates great content.
I'm going to see the replay and I'm going to go, oh, no, I didn't do all this. It's okay. Listen, it's okay. I mean, so, but I do want to tell you, thank you. We love you. We appreciate you. I can't wait to talk to Renee about your next venture, because that's just the kind of stuff that she and I love to help with. We're not rich, but like we love to help people open up these places. It's just something we love to do. So, yeah. So this has been great. Thank you.
It has been, Mike. Thank you for having me.
Don't forget that you got to do a recovery share, like an 8 to 10 minute share on a topic. Send it to Todd, and we love you. And this is not the last of this. We'll be having you on some more. And Todd, it's a wrap. Take us out. Ask 'em Studios.
So 30 years ago, when I first came into recovery, we didn't have recovery housing. If someone was seeking recovery and maybe coming to meetings and didn't have anywhere to live, we'd basically try to help them find somewhere to live. And that's how it all started. We all started basically living together and keeping each other accountable in recovery. Now, as the years have gone through, it's basically turned into an industry. And with that industry, there comes a lot of challenges. There's quite a bit of exploitation. You're dealing with a very, very vulnerable population. So that's the reason that we started the South Carolina Recovery Housing Association, to help providers, to help other recovery housing operators, to help mentor them, to advocate for them. And one of the things that we did right off the bat was we started getting naloxone into all recovery housing in South Carolina. We were very fortunate to get a grant from the Clinton Foundation and some help from the Recovery Advocacy Project and Challenges Inc. and FAVOR Greenville, and all of them combined have helped the South Carolina Recovery Housing Association to begin getting naloxone into all recovery housing in South Carolina, and to help train their residents on the use of naloxone. We believe that is the first standard that we need to accomplish in South Carolina. Recovery housing operators are a very valuable resource to those suffering from substance use disorder in South Carolina, and we want to advocate for them, train them, mentor, and just work with them with whatever needs that they may have. If you want to get in touch with us, it's screcoveryhousing.org.